first use case committee meeting of the new year. Happy New Year to everyone. Oh, I love those little party hat guys. That's awesome. Thank you. Um, so this group did a lot of work and a lot of things together and watched a lot of demos and had a lot of great discussion and gave each other great ideas. And I think this group has been just a pillar and foundation of the GovAI coalition for the last 3 years. And I'm so grateful to be part of this group. And I think this is going to just keep continuing forward. And I think Jamie would agree and be very excited to say so if she were able to be here today. So in today's meeting, we're going to get a little look of a product called Trellis from Hortus AI. And I love how Jamie calls it the initial Yelp for GovAI tools so that we can give really good feedback on what worked for us and how, and just give that Yelp style review that people are used to seeing. I think that's a super quick and awesome way to just even understand what you should look at or what might make sense for your organization. So that is what we're going to look at today. And Tom Gilbert is here with us to demo this product and tell us how this can help us and just give us a good look.
Yeah,
Hi,
and
Tom.
Carrie,
Welcome. Yes, Albert has something
oh,
to say.
sorry, Carrie. I just wanted to add a little bit to that for context for folks. Ever since the coalition started, one of the big things was there are a million different products coming on the market around AI, whether it's selling you something to support your fire department, your transportation department, your police department, your everything department. It's going to mow your lawn, it's going to take care of your kids, whatever. We don't know which products work, let alone which ones are the best. And that has been a chronic problem for the last several years with this new and evolving technology. And one of the things that many of our members have been asking for is a space where we, as a coalition, can provide reviews, get a better understanding of what AI tools are available for different types of use cases, which ones are being transparent with us in the same way that the coalition expects, and which ones other government agencies have used. And so I'm really excited because our industry relations committee has partnered with Hortus AI and Tom and his team to really make something that, one, is freely available to all GovAI coalition members, and two, hopefully addresses some of that concern that we've all had around what AI products are actually good for us to use in the public sector. So with that, I'll
Superb
pass it back. Of
context. Thank you.
course.
Hi, everybody. I will hop in. You can call me Tom. I'm Thomas Gilbert. I am the CEO of Hortus AI. Albert just gave a very generous introduction to what we do. I will go ahead and hop in and give a little bit of a brief overview about more about the company, and then we'll jump into a live demo. Which my hope is that actually, like, I'll show some features, but my hope is that everybody can take this as a chance to try it out for themselves. Can I get maybe a thumbs up that people can see this screen? Okay, I see Albert at least can do it. So I'm going to assume everybody can do it. Okay, I just have a few slides here, and then we're going to transition into the tool. We're just fully ready to go. So as I describe it, Hortus is basically like a clearinghouse for public AI adoption. I think Jamie's description of it as a Yelp for AI tools is apt. You can also think of it as like a consumer reports for AI tools, where the consumer in this case actually could be cities, it could be nonprofits, it could be local government teams. It could be private sector organizations if they need help with procurement. We aim to be an impartial clearinghouse that provides ratings, reviews, assessments, and transparent listings for basically any tool we're thinking about for any use case that you may need help with. So a little bit about, I mean, I'm kind of just regurgitating what Albert said. I'm going to put a little bit of numbers on it though, based on our own research. What we're seeing now in this hype cycle is that we're getting something like almost a half a dozen new AI startups launched every hour. That's basically hundreds of new AI tools per day. And so you have this unstoppable force of that. At the same time that you have this long-standing culture of how long it actually takes for a successful technology implementation to happen across an entire organization. It can take months to even just sort out how to compare different AI tools, let alone how to purchase and implement them in a successful way, and that makes them working properly and understood by all the stakeholders in question. So you have these two different forces of butting heads with each other, and the result is there's this kind of exponentially growing risk of vendor lock-in, where, if you're a given city, you might be really afraid to be the first to adopt some new kind of capability, like a chatbot or an agentic workflow, but you might also be terrified to be last, right? So you're kind of between a rock and a hard place there, afraid to be first, terrified to be last. Really, what we want is neither of those things. What we all would want is for people to feel empowered, to feel like they can make informed decisions about which, if any, tools are the right fit for their workflow at a given moment in time, and that they can go in, if they do choose to proceed, they can go in with no regrets. So, in order to solve this problem and get us more to the dynamic I just described, we've launched Trellis. So there's a lot of garden imagery here. Hortus is the word for garden. Trellis is the kind of scaffold in a garden. Those gardeners out there might know this, on which life can grow, plants can be healthy. And it's basically set up as a B2B or B2G marketplace that is able to match AI apps to public needs, wherever those needs may be and wherever those apps may be. So at present, our platform lists over 2,000 different AI tools across different domains. We rate those apps on hundreds of different use cases. And the goal here really is to do a better job connecting the people building this stuff with the people who may be interested in purchasing or using this stuff, and then also the people who might help audit or evaluate or review this stuff. And so what we're really trying to do is create a level playing field there, a win-win-win condition across those stakeholder groups. So there's a lot more I could say in advance. I actually think it's best if we just jump into the actual tool. So what I now want to do is transition and have all you guys, those of you who are able to do so, to go ahead and try it out. This is completely live. As Albert mentioned, we have a pathway for coalition members to access it for free right now. So the first thing I want people to do is go ahead and navigate to that URL, trellis.hortus.ai, and I'll also put these instructions in the chat just so that people can access them, and people can go ahead and sign up. And I'm actually very excited to share this was not live last week, but it should be working now. People can log in either using Google accounts or Microsoft accounts. And then there's an option for folks to enter in to their dashboard from the marketplace and enter the code coalition in order to get in that way. And you can then basically be off to the races. So I'd like people to try a few of these things here. I'll go ahead and stop sharing this screen, but copy over these instructions to the chat. And then I will open up my page to show people the actual tool. I see Albert just put a link in the chat as well. Here's the full kind of instructions for the live demo. And what I will do is, help people. I'll talk people through this. If people have any questions, raise your hand or speak up or put something in the chat. And I and another member of my team are available to help troubleshoot, but also just talk us through this so that we can really get a sense of how this works. It's intended to be as easy to use as possible, especially for folks who are interested in use cases, which is one reason I'm excited to present to this group. I will go ahead and share my screen to the live copy of it. Can everyone see that? Or can I get one thumbs up? I see, okay, Gabriella, I just happened to see his thumbed up. Albert has thumbed up as well. So I assume we can all see this. This is the landing page. So from here, you're going to be able to either sign up as a user. That'd be, the customer journey basically would be folks on this call. If there are any vendors who might want to list their tools, they'd click Get Listed. What you can also just do is try it out just by taking a look at the marketplace. So if I just hit Explore Marketplace, what that will do is pull up the actual interface for the marketplace. So I'm happy to talk people through this. This is the name of the tool right here. As you can see, we have over 2,000 tools and services listed. We have badges or certifications of quality, which I can talk people through what that means. And then there's the ability to compare these different types of listings against each other. These are the tools themselves. These are organized by how widely used they are across coalition and non-coalition members. They're also organized by domain. So you see healthcare tools here. This is an administrative tool. This is an education tool, criminal justice tool, and so on. We have some transportation tools down here. You can see whether it was created by a commercial or non-commercial entity. We do have filters describing what the type of tool it is, and then these badges themselves. So we have some badges here, for example, if I use the search bar, and you can search for whatever you want here, but if I filter by, for example, administration, what we can see is several different badges that some of these vendors have uploaded. Readily, for example, is an AI tool that joined a vendor that joined through the coalition. So they have a few different badges here. They are a coalition partner. They are also amongst the top 5% scoring in terms of quality, according to our assessments in that domain. We have some compliance badges here. So they are HIPAA compliant, SOC 2 compliant per their documentation. And then they also have vendor transparency score that was provided by a rubric created by the Center for Democracy and Technology. So those are just some examples of, at a glance, what information would you need in order to take any of these vendors seriously? Who's using them? What are they compliant with? Has anybody else looked at them? And so on. So I did put those instructions in the chat. And what I want to do is show people how they would go about setting up an account. And I'll do my best to monitor. While I'm sharing screen, I can't see comments. So if anybody is leaving comments there or have any questions about this journey, I'd like people to go ahead and, or yeah, maybe if Albert or one of you folks wouldn't mind reading them aloud, let me know. But what I can go ahead and do is click, if I click sign up here, you can see here this is a login page that enables me to I can sign up right here, or I can enter in through Google or through Microsoft Azure. If you have a Microsoft account, you should be able to enter that in by clicking sign up. If you have a Google or Gmail account, you should be able to enter in that way. I'm going to go ahead and enter in through my Gmail. And I did see there was a comment, but I didn't see what it was. So if it's urgent or important, somebody
It
can.
was from Albert, explaining what
Okay.
CDT is.
Yes, the Center for Democracy and Technology. Okay, I do see another comment from David Goldman.
Mhm.
Could links to the software be included in the fact sheets so that if you're interested, we can click the link? Yes, so all listings should have a link to the product or to the website of the vendor. So I'll show people what that looks like here. But I do want people to try and follow the instructions that I posted. Are people able to begin doing that? I can also walk people through that process. Okay, while people are figuring that out, I'll show people how it works. So for example, if I enter in I can actually just enter in a brand new account here from one of my emails. So if I enter in this one and sign in.
Tom, while that's loading, one of the things asked in the chat from Nicole is around the services tab. So I know that there are both AI tools, and then for AI consultants
Mhm.
or service implementers, there's the services tab. And they're curious if there's interest or things that we can learn more or expand upon on the services, right? Like if I click on one of these, the service details, to be able to see more on those.
Yeah, so that is part of our roadmap. So basically, we also plan for services to include many or at least some of the same kinds of badges and certifications that we do for tools. That repository is primarily intended for many of the existing, especially like GovCon, government consultancy, tech consultancy groups that are well established for helping to implement technology solutions. So we also intend for them to be helpful as listings for if you're basically looking not just for the right tool, but well, who could I work with to help me implement this tool or oversee its operation? Those listings are also cross-referenced in our search in our platform, so that we can provide recommendations on that. Okay, so going through the login walkthrough, when you create a new login, it's going to ask you to create your organization. I'm just going to create, so for many of you, that would be like your government, municipality or your team or something like that. I'll just name this, Hortus Administration Test. That's my organization name. If you have an organization logo, you're welcome to upload that here. It's not required. But for now, I will just complete setup. So what that does is log me in as that organization. The next thing I'm going to do, and again, I'm going to just be walking through this. And so if anybody has any questions, I mean, I guess just get in touch in the chat, but I'm going to assume the people are able to follow me and also try this out for themselves as they are doing this. The next thing you're going to want to do, you can all go and look at many of these tools if you want. You can see how our scores work here. We rate tools for completeness, for the completeness of the listing, their commitments to privacy, security, and usability. If you click the full listing, you'll see where there are existing ratings from people, and also if there are any comments that have been added to any of those listings. And here, I know there was a question about the link to the live link for the tool. And so if you clicked that there, that would take you there. So what I'm going to do now that I've logged in is go ahead and click the subscribe button up here. And you can see here that there is a path. If you are a GovAI Coalition partner, you can click that right here. And what that will do is you can enter in this code. That's the code I put in the instructions. If you type in this code and submit that, what that will do is take you straight to your dashboard. And so what I can then do is create a project and you can create a project. The idea here is basically imagine you're a procurement team member, or imagine you are a government IT specialist, or imagine you're a CTO, CIO type role. A project is basically you saying, here's what we're looking for. Here's our use case. Here's what we need help with. So I'm just going to make something up, a standard one. I'm going to say pothole detection. Okay, that's the name of my project. I then write a brief overview of basically what in more detail I'm looking for. So I'll just say I am looking for tools that will help my department more efficiently track potholes across our roads. I am most concerned with doing this on a budget. So say that. You can write whatever you want here. It's whatever your goals are. So if this is my use case, or this is my project name rather, the domain I'm going to select, I do filter by domain here. So for this one, it would be transportation. You can also select any of these. Depends on whatever project it is you're looking for. I'll do transportation. And then for use cases, we have a very rich repository internally. We've also taken some guidance from you guys on what use cases to include. But I'm going to go ahead and see if I can, okay, it looks like I'll have to add pothole detection specifically. So you can request use cases this way. So I'm going to add pothole detection as a use case. Model type, I'll put classification for this, since that's the kind of AI I would need to use for that. Okay, so we'll review that on the back end. In the meantime, I'm also going to add other use cases, like road construction updates would obviously be relevant for this, road lifespan estimation, road repair ranking. And so I can just partially fill this in, as you can see. And I'll add a few more. Road segment type classification. I'll just add 5 just to make sure we have a rich repository here. Vehicle maintenance, sure, that might be relevant. We'll create that project. Once I create the project, I can then add listings. Okay, I can add fact sheets to that project. If I add fact sheets, I can filter. For example, I can go to the transportation domain. And I can then see, okay, which of these tools might even be relevant for this kind of use case. I happen to know this one. All the traffic lights is an example that is at least relevant for pothole detection. So I'm going to add that there. I can also add additional ones if I search, for example, pothole. Yes, so see, that's the one I already added here. It looks like smart traffic is another one that our tool at least predicts is relevant for that. So I can also click select vendor down here. So I selected a couple. And these are, if I wanted to look into the details of those tools, I'm welcome to read those listings, but it's actually not necessary for this demo. What I'm going to do here is go ahead and click compare fact sheets. So what this is going to do, based off of the project description that I just wrote in, those two sentences where I said I'm looking for pothole detection and I'm concerned about keeping this on a budget, what it's going to do is output a report. Basically, think of this as like a custom consumer report. That's the way we designed this to work. So the idea here is it gives an overview where it prints out basically here's our understanding of what your goals are here. You're trying to efficiently track potholes on a budget. Both of the tools you've selected, okay, these two listings here, address challenges using machine learning. One optimizes traffic flow, the other focuses on predicting traffic congestion. Neither directly detects potholes, but this one of them has the potential to be adapted by analyzing the road conditions. So our tool is basically saying this smart traffic one has that kind of relevant capability for that purpose. So it's able to show what the distinct roles may be for these different listings. It's able to show what synergies there may be and also what potential conflicts there may be between those tools. And I can also then more specifically compare those two listings. And if I hit compare, what this will do is then provide a structured recommendation of which, if either of those tools, might be most appropriate. So this is a demo. It's a live
Yeah.
demo, so everything I showed you works. But it's really just intended to say, like, there's basically for any use case, for any tools you're interested in, and for any project you want to create, you can do this. And we welcome feedback from folks both on the use case list that we have. So any member of this committee is welcome to log in and request specific use cases there. Okay, looks like there's some kind of error on our end for that comparison, but normally this should be working. So I apologize for that. Once that comparison, though, is created, it should be able to export this as a PDF, and then you'll be able to hand that off to either your purchasing team or to your CTO, anything like that, as a kind of guidance for at least this is of these vendors. This is the one that may be worth having a conversation with if you are interested to proceed.
And
Um,
Tom,
yeah.
if just so I think about this from my perspective, I could make a project for a specific use case I'm looking for. Basically, just I search for some fact sheets or for some use cases for that, and just add a bunch of them into a project, and then ask it to compare across all of them for me, so I can start even just beginning to get a basic understanding of what's differences between the 30 tools that purport to offer the same thing for me.
That's right. Yeah, you can add as many as you want. Our
Okay.
tool should be able to compare as many as you want. I would recommend folks not try and compare more than 10 at a time, because then it's going to take a while for it to do that parsing. But yes, you should treat this also as a way to learn about these tools, and not just as a way to be told, this is the single right tool for your needs. In fact, sometimes our recommender basically says none of the tools that you selected actually are the best fit on the use cases that you flagged or on your project description.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
And
not able to monitor chat, but
yeah. So
how's
I
it
was
going?
just gonna we have two questions here, so I'll read Nicole's first. Um about is there longer term, is there some general cycle on when metrics or assessment metrics might be updated? And if is there any way to see when the last assessment for a product was done, like maybe it's, last assessed date?
Yeah, we run the assessments once a week. So our assessments on if you guys can still see here, for example, this tool, these checks for the completeness of the listing and also the commitments to privacy, security, and usability. We actually just upgraded these last week, and we
Yeah.
regularly rerun them. In fact, we had a vendor last week that resubmitted a fact sheet multiple times because they were updating it in order to get a better score on these
Oh,
listings.
awesome. Awesome. So it's pushing eight or vendors basically to share more of this information. Could
Yeah,
could you
everything on the marketplace is designed to incentivize vendors to be more forthright, more transparent, and that's the way we've set up the entire system to work.
and we've got more questions in the chat around defining the metrics. Maybe you
Mhm.
could just tell us a little bit more about how these metrics are actually measured.
Yeah, so basically we have tooltips here that explain just in like a sentence roughly how we calculate these things. We can't be completely transparent about it because then vendors would just manipulate the test and artificially inflate their scores. But basically these are about measuring the commitments that the vendors are making through their tools to these values. So for privacy, we have a variety of checks. For privacy and security, I can speak at a high level and say, we do various checks on factors related to compliance with existing regulatory standards on privacy and security. So major pieces of legislation and regulation from federal agencies on those things. We also do industry best practices. So basically, we look at standards that are put out by standard setting organizations in or adjacent to industry to see like whether or not the particular standards they articulate are corroborated in how the tool works. And we basically test the tool. So we do a variety of prompts and a variety of probes into the tools to confirm that kind of conformity with those standards and then score them accordingly. And this is really set up to be sim as basically the way Consumer Reports does it. So Consumer Reports has like ratings of like excellent, good, fair, or bad for each of these like four vectors of like if you guys have used it to look at cars, for example, like what's the best car? Consumer Reports doesn't really tell you objectively what's the best car. What it tells you is here is what cars are now. Here is what you should be thinking about if you're purchasing a car in early 2026. And it tells you like these are the four or five things to keep in mind. And here is how well each of these different products or cars do on each of those dimensions. I do see a question from Gabriella about user input as a basis for the assessments. So the way we've structured this is they're not intended to be mutually exclusive. So for example, on these tools, for example, this one, if I click the full listing, you can actually see if there is a user rating from somebody who's used the tool, and then also if there are comments made on the tool. So that's also intended to be, and you can also see it here in the actual listing. So what we do, and I think in my instructions, I encourage people to do this, that if people were able to log in, I'm not seeing if anybody had any issues with logging in. I do encourage people to try that out if they haven't already. But to log in, go to your dashboard, and then add listings, like create a project, add some listings to it. And then also, if you've used any of these tools, or if you have questions or comments, about any of the tools that you're curious about, you can go ahead and add those in. And you can go ahead and leave ratings on any of these tools, so long as you're logged in and have defined your organizational parameters. Let's see, I'm
And
just monitoring.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm able to see these now. Let's see here. So, again, just going to Gabriella's more immediate question. For those marked as poor, does that mean info hasn't been added by the vendor, or does it mean they have poor practices? Literally just means, yeah, that as far as we can tell, they have poor practices. That's what that means. It doesn't necessarily mean you shouldn't use them. It just means you should go in with both eyes open, you know. What we've done, though, is encourage vendors to be able to see if they are rated as poor on any of these dimensions, and then that motivates the vendor to change their behavior, either in terms of what they're able to report about their tool or about the tool itself. And so our assessments are designed to, basically support both of those things. I do see it looks like Riley had left a comment about the type of category with respect to my potholes example, why I chose classification for that. Yeah, that's a good point. I'm very familiar with that use case, and at least in my experience, thinking about that as a kind of computer vision classic classification type problem. is one way to think about it, or feature detection. It's not the only way to operationalize that. It really would depend on how you're defining the use case in the context of your own needs. So we monitor all this on the back end. We're not trying to force any particular definition of these use cases. On the contrary, what we're doing is inviting this community to tell us, what are the use cases you want? How would you define them? How would you define them technically if that's the case? So that we can actually support them. Because then what we do is not only can you select those use cases as filters on your own projects, you can also use those use cases as searches on the marketplace itself. So again, if I were to go to the marketplace and I can search, you know, document, you can even see use cases here that automatically populate depending on what I'm doing. If I search, document taxonomy, for example, that'll come up with many different listings that claim to supply that use case. If I search for like transcription, that's also going to come up with like at least several of the top tools that we're able to say that provide transcription. Looks like these are based off of some language ones as well. Okay. I see Andy. How quickly are additional companies being added? Yeah, that's a good question. So actually, the tool itself includes how we think about that. So if I filter again by, for example, use cases in government administration, you see this here. I call this like the Wirecutter feature. Those of you who are maybe familiar with Wirecutter, what Wirecutter does is not just rank products and tell you which product is the best, depending on what you're looking for. Like if you're looking for a vacuum cleaner, they'll like do all these tests and whatnot. They also give this kind of like, there's kind of like this like several hundred word essay that's written by the evaluators of like, here's how we think about vacuum cleaners, what we think is most important. I kind of think that's charming and provides context behind those types of ratings. So we mimicked that here. And what this will do is show you in the last quarter, for that domain, in this case, government administration, how many new listings we've added. So it looks like we've added, this says 564, as well as 175 more use cases in that time frame. And we also say a little bit of information about amongst the assessment criteria that I showed, like security, privacy, usability. Here's what we've seen in terms of changes or in terms of just things to keep in mind. So at a glance, it's just another way for people to think about, rather than just coming in with nothing, how can I kind of educate myself or get these resources to understand what is the current state of play in AI tools? Can I get a quick show of hands? Did anybody have trouble logging in or creating a project? Were there any stumbling blocks here? Because I'm not just showing a demo. I really intend this to be an opportunity for us to get feedback from people on the actual features as they try them out.
Hi, Tom. This is Carrie from City of Scottsdale, and I have a sort of security techie question that I can imagine uh, organizations, security office asking them about when they see how you can log in, right? You can say log in using Microsoft or Google or just set up an account. So with the availability of Microsoft Entra, could organizations have an SSO right into their organization?
Yes, yes, that should be available.
I
So
think
we
people will like that.
Yeah, as far as I know, that is supported through these login credentials. So, as you said, Entra is supported. Microsoft Azure is now supported. Google Suite Gmail is supported. I logged in through Gmail just because that's how I'm used to using it. But we can confirm that Microsoft logins should be working. Um, yeah, and as Albert just noted, we've added the ability for folks to view the marketplace and be able to they should be able to search listings and view fact sheets before needing to log in. You will need to log in if you want access to the dashboard and if you want to create projects and organize listings in those projects and run that comparison example that I just showed.
Yes, thank you. So the other question I foresee maybe in the future is can people navigate between organizations? For example, some of us are part of this GovAI coalition, and we might want to look at things through that lens. or we're leading AI through our own organization and we need to look at projects from that lens as part of our own organization. So can you move from organization to organization?
Yeah, you can. We log organizations really just to keep track of who's in and who's out. As I showed, to log in through the coalition, that's a separate kind of page than just creating your own organization. So we log both at present. They're not mutually exclusive. If people do need to change their organization for some reason, at this stage, I would encourage people to just get in touch with a member of our team or me directly, and we can easily change that on the back end. I think we do intend, as part of our roadmap from the dashboard, people can also adjust that. You can see you can manage your subscription. You can also log out. We're going to add the ability for folks to be able to control their organizational credentials themselves.
That is super. Thank you.
And I just want to highlight here, this has been something that's been built right in parallel with the industry relations working and thinking about the AI registry for the GovAI coalition. This is very much, and Tom, correct me if I'm wrong here, but this is something that is being built in progress right now. We are sharing part of the plane as we are building it, and it's flying. I I encourage everyone to take a look, go on, log in, see if anything that you've used is already on there. And this is our space to be able to add feedback, review the products. If something has worked for you, this is a great place to highlight it, give it a good review. If something has not worked for you, warn others before they have to use it. Um, this is our opportunity. It's still in the building process, and Tom has been fantastic and responsive as we have these different feedbacks and asks, um, to shape this into something that is useful for us in government and with our partners.
Thanks,
And
Albert. And I was just going to add, if people have any specific feedback about, I guess there has been some already, which has been helpful. But if there's any specific questions or even, yeah, constructive feedback about any of the features I just demoed on this call, you're welcome to let me know. I mean, if you're comfortable, like just speak up right now or just put it in the chat. You can also get in touch directly with me over email, which I again will put in the chat here, and you're welcome to get in touch that way. Yeah, because our aim is for this to be as smooth, as seamless, and as useful, I mean, to this audience as possible. So, yeah, I think, and again, everything I just showed is live. You can try it out for yourselves right now. In fact, I encourage you to try it out right now, so that we can get this quick turnaround on feedback. Okay, Albert asks if an AI product that I used is on Trellis yet, can I still add a review? Oh, that's an interesting question. Um, I think the short answer to that is no, for the same reason that I think, like on Yelp, I think it would be challenging for you to leave a review for a restaurant that's not on there yet, at least to my knowledge. If there is an AI product that you've used and you don't find it, I would encourage you to, again, get in touch with us directly because we aim for this to be, as broad as possible in terms of the ratings and listings that we have. We want you to be able to search for anything you've used and find it, to be able to, if a vendor comes to you and you've never heard of them, that you can search Trellis and they'll be on there. If you are looking for, say, the 5 or 6 tools that are good for a given use case, we want you to be able to just search the use case and find the top tools for that use case. We want this to be a place that includes, everything that is real and that is out there that is worth considering. Yeah, but that is a good question. Okay, I see Steve asks, can a vendor respond to a piece of feedback? Yes, in fact, that's one of the big carrots that we have for vendors. So actually, I think I can show that. So if I sign out of this account and I instead log in to a different account as a vendor, So I'm pretending to be a vendor right now. Imagine I'm a vendor. You guys can see this is if I'm a vendor, I have a different kind of dashboard, and I can create fact sheets here. And what I also have is this button up here, client engagement. If I click this, what this will do is show me if there are any of my listings or any listings that I'm looking at. You can see there are comments. And if I click any of these, what this will do is show me comments that have been made on those listings, and I can reply to them. So that's, I mean, that literally answers Steve's question. The whole purpose is for vendors to encourage vendors to either reply to these comments directly or again, update their listings in order to address whatever concerns were made in the comments that users have left or in the reviews that have been made on them. So yeah, we are looking to, we're adding even more badges to this. We are constantly adding more tools. I think we actually already know we're going to be adding at least 100 more this week. We are upgrading the services tab so that we're kind of integrating it with all the visibility that we have for tools, and we are also folding out more improvements to the dashboard as well. So we consider this an active roadmap, and we would love, again, feedback, guidance, questions, critical or otherwise, from people. But again, I'll just highlight and reinforce what Albert already said. The more reviews, ratings, and the more comments people leave on tools that they've either already used or have questions about, the richer this will become. It's a way for jurisdictions to communicate with each other, to collaborate with each other. In fact, I can show people that if I log in, again, I'm going to flip back and forth here, but if I log in this time as pretend I'm like a jurisdiction here, pretend I'm coming from a municipality, and it loads my dashboard for one of these projects, I can choose to share this project. If I share the project, that means what I can do is invite collaborators to it. So imagine I'm like the city of St. Louis and I know people in Tampa, and I'm like, hey, I know from conferences or because we know each other or whatever, we both have a need for a particular kind of procurement, maybe pothole detection, road signage, maybe something related to transcribing meeting minutes. It doesn't really matter, and we can share our projects and have listings that we organize together and that we comment on together. And so we can pool those resources. So I can add them here. I can choose to add them either as a viewer or as an actual like full-on collaborator editor. Send the invitation, and they should then get that invitation directly to their email. And then again, you're off to the races. So I think beyond just providing transparency for the listings, this is also a way for the community to come together on its own terms. Because again, our whole vision, I know I've said this, but I'll reinforce it because our product is designed for this, is to create a much more level playing field between all these different actors, whether you're a vendor, whether you're a potential customer or procurer, or you are somebody interested in doing evaluations of these different tools. That you, at any of those stages, you have the information or the collaborators that you need in order to approach that effectively and successfully. Okay, I do see a question now from Andy. What is the difference between a tool and a service? I see Atlassian under services, but I use it as a tool. It doesn't seem to show under tools. Maybe I'm missing something. Okay, Andy, that is a great question. So yeah, at a high level, the difference between a tool and a service is, again, basically a tool would be a product or a platform or a chatbot, right? It could be like very AI forward, or it could just be a piece of software that maybe has AI components in it. And so we assess it as a tool based off of that. If it's a service, that means that it's basically more like a consultancy, or it's more like a person or a team or an organization that assists with that kind of implementation. Andy notes, I see Atlassian under services, but I use it as a tool, and it doesn't seem to show under tools. That's a fair point. So I believe in that case, the reason we listed it as a service is because on our existing kind of list of service providers, Atlassian presented itself as a service provider. But Andy's absolutely right. I also use Atlassian. I use some of their tools for some things. And so Atlassian actually would be an example where there are tools that they supply that we would be able to assess as tools. So I will make a note of that and I will add that to our roadmap. The heuristic there really is as long as the entity in question is providing something that conforms to the fact sheet template, we are able to assess it as a tool. And so that's the basis on which it basically qualifies for that bracket. I did see, so I know somebody had flagged that they had an issue logging in, but they also said that's because they didn't, I guess Melissa Barnes, that did not have access to Authenticator. Did anybody else who has tried to log in have any troubles with that, either on the Google or the Microsoft side? Then Gabriella says she could get in. Okay. Did anybody get as far as creating a project or adding use cases? Did not get that far. Are we shy? There's no harm, no foul in creating one. Don't have anything in mind just yet. Okay. I mean, yeah, you're welcome to just try it out. There's nothing really there's nothing wrong with creating test projects. You just saw me create one. It's also just a way to get to know the tool. The way we can make this better most quickly and most effectively is if people do try it out and see if it does end up doing what they want it to do, or if it supplies the kind of delight that we'd like people to have when they use a tool like this. So yeah, I would encourage people to go ahead and just try out if you have any test projects in mind or if there's any use cases you're interested in, that you can go ahead and just play around with it that way. Albert asks, how can I invite vendors to join the marketplace? Vendors approach me with new products, and it would be nice to get this information on the platform. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So in that case, I would encourage vendors to check out our website and get in touch with us, and then they can just do it that way. Our website, I'll just put that link in the chat. And also, I mean, the other thing vendors can do is just go directly to the marketplace. So I'll put a link to the company website if vendors just kind of want to learn more. That's there. But again, just to remind people, so if I keep logging out, logging back in, but it's a two-sided market, so it makes sense. Vendors can just click this. They just click get listed right here. And that takes them through the journey, the vendor side of the journey. If they instead want to explore the marketplace and just check it out first, they can do that here. And then in the upper left, we've got sign up and get listed. Sign up is for potential purchasers or customers. Get listed is for vendors because they would be the ones interested in listing their tool or their service. And they can also list either. So if they want to choose a tool, they can list that way. If they want to list a service, they can list it that way. So that's the journey for vendors. Gabriella asks if someone isn't part of the coalition, how much is membership? Yeah, so right now, as already indicated, the coalition has this kind of special workaround for complimentary access at this stage. If people are not members of the coalition, I mean, the pages will show this. It's set up like a monthly subscription, basically. So if you're a user or a potential purchaser, it's $10 a month. It's the same rate that Consumer Reports charges for their monthly subscription. And we do take a lot of inspiration from them and their business model. That's the reason why that's one reason why we anchored it that way. We think we're supplying an equivalent kind of value. If you're a vendor, it's $50 a month, and $50 a month again will enable you to create listings, update listings. You'll be able to get in touch directly with users through that interface I showed about commenting, and other sorts of things. So it's just a different pricing bracket based on the value we think we're providing on the vendor side. Okay. Let's see. Yeah. So basically, we're providing this as a resource during the open beta to the coalition for both customers and vendors to use and to update this, try this out as we see fit. We really just want this to be as good as possible. So for folks to provide as much feedback, as much practice, as much iteration on this as we can. And so we're happy for the coalition members on both sides to be able to make use of this. And yeah, for that matter, if anybody wants to create projects and go ahead and add collaborators, they should be able to do that out of the gate. I believe the way that works is that they'll just get an email straight to their inbox, and then if they click that link and are not already in um, our database, that should just be able to make it so they can create organizations directly. So I don't think they already have to be a login to Trellis in order for them to be added in that way. So I would again encourage people to make as wide of use of this as they can. I do see there's some feedback I'm getting from folks that they're searching for things, they're searching for some entities, and sometimes they're so it looks like sometimes they're under services when they should when they're expecting them to be a tool, or sometimes they're showing up somewhat inconsistently on the search bar. So again, I apologize for that. This is open beta. The intent is for this to basically be an opportunity for us to iterate and learn. So we will log these little bugs and update accordingly. What I can certainly guarantee right now is that every vendor that has previously joined through the coalition is listed here and has been assessed. And so that's why you see that coalition badge. Again, if I navigate to this filter here for that domain, you can see several coalition vendors. These ones just joined last week, actually, listed there. We have a FedRAMP button as well. That's right. So we're constantly iterating and updating this. The goal is to really just make this as intuitive as possible. I guess in the last few minutes here, because I know that I've taken up a lot of time, was there anything about the journey that I demoed or that people have tried out when they tried out themselves? Was there any part of that that was unclear or that they couldn't follow or didn't make sense, worked differently than they might have wanted or expected it to?
Thank you, Tom. Silence is golden. I guess that was a pretty long one. I think as people dive into it more, we might have some more questions and some updates and feedback that would be useful. But it's, in just a few minutes while you're trying to keep track of everyone else and what you're saying, it's kind of hard to think of all the things that you want to say. So hopefully we can keep that open and people can respond back to the use case committee to send on this information and any feedback for Tom. We are almost out of time today, and I just want to again say thank you so much to Tom for this demonstration and being open to answering all these questions. This group is very inquisitive. They have a lot of questions. Everything is so new. They're excited to take things back to their organizations or learn about them themselves. Our our next meeting will be 2 weeks from today, and hopefully we'll have an agenda that we can send out so people are ready for our next meeting. We're very excited to jump into this new year and come up with new use cases and other ways to support the GovAI coalition. Albert, do you have anything that you would like to add before we close out for today?
No, just thank you all for taking the time, and thank you, Tom, for sharing Hortus with us.
Thanks, everybody. It was my pleasure. And again, consider this an open book. The link is completely live. You can try it out. Do email me or just reach out through the company website if you have any additional questions. And we really look forward to seeing the kinds of projects, the kinds of reviews, the kinds of comments and ratings that people end up leaving.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a good day, everyone.
Hey, Gary, thanks everyone.